You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at rahardin.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
All right, folks, well, good evening. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We're coming to you live right now from KLRNradio.com. And we are live every now Monday through Thursday right here on KLRNradio.com at 11 p.m. Eastern. And I am going to be joined this evening by a very special guest. You know her, you love her. She hangs out on Jessie's POV. She's going to be joining me this evening, and we're going to make her talk politics, what she usually hates, but we're going to make her do it anyway. That is coming up right about now, right here on America Off the Rails. So what do you say we kick it off? That's right, folks. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and without further ado, we have my very special guest, Jessica Sanders, host of her very own show, Jessie's POV, and she's joining us this evening, and we're going to make her talk her most dreaded topic ever, which is U.S. politics, because she doesn't usually work on those, but we're going to make her do it anyway. Good evening, Miss Jess. How are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you?
I am hanging in there. I'm trying to get over the flu, and there are days that some days are still better than others. Woohoo!
I think we all have those days, and some political events are so big, even I want to talk about them.
Yeah, well, it's just funny, though, because most of the time when I have you on, you're like, I don't usually do politics, but just this one time I wanted to talk about it. And that's another one of these situations, because, of course, we have a new president, and there has been lots of news about this new president. Lots of folks are having meltdowns. Lots of folks are seeing positive things. Lots of folks heard negative things in his inauguration speech. And we're just going to kind of talk about all of it today. So where do you want to go first?
Well, why don't we start at the beginning of his presidency, since it's only 3 days old?
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's only been sworn in now for 3 official days. But of course, everybody swore the world was going to come to an end and we were all going to die. So far, I don't know about you, but I think I'm still here. I mean, I could be wrong. And now, bear in mind, folks, this is coming from somebody who was not a Trump fan, was not a Trump supporter. I really didn't necessarily think that he was going to be the best choice for the country. But I have to admit, the more crazy the left goes about the man who is currently sitting in the White House, the happier I become about that particular choice. Because watching them have meltdowns reaffirms my faith that maybe we made the right choice after all. I say we as collectively, even though I really can't necessarily say that because I didn't vote for it. Just saying.
Well, as you well know, I didn't vote for him either, but like I asked all my listeners tonight, give him a chance.
I really don't understand why that's such a hard concept, because for those of us that were not Obama fans, we gave him a chance in 2008. We really tried to get behind him. We listened to his speech after his victory speech, and we listened to his speech after he was sworn in. And even though there were things that terrified us in that speech, when he kept talking about things like hope and change and fundamentally transforming America, we still gave him a chance because we have respect for the office. Now, just to put everybody on notice, because there's been something that I've seen going around lately, that Trump and a lot of his supporters think that Never Trump is now officially gone and on life support. Most of us that were conservative and were Never Trump are now in the category of stuck with Trump. And because of our respect for the office, we're going to give the man a chance because of the fact that he now occupies the Oval Office. That, however, being said, if and when he crosses a line, or in our definition of things, breaks his oath that he just took, then we will be some of the loudest, most ardent Trump critics ever. So my only hope for this POTUS is, one, that he does what he said he was going to do when he had his hand on the Bible, and two, that God keep him safe, healthy, and happy, and that he does what he said he was going to do when he put his hand on the Bible.
I have a third hope, but it's not so much for Trump himself as it is for the Secret Service charged with his protection, that everybody gets through this safely.
I thought you were going to ask for one of the Secret Service to take his phone away so he could stop tweeting.
Well, I would, but that would be taking away part of his First Amendment rights. So I don't want to go there. Although I wish somebody would at least, I will say he has at least toned some of them back. I mean, he put out all of one tweet that I saw today, and it was just, I'm meeting with business leaders later today. It wasn't one of those snarky, ranting. It says, busy week planned with heavy focus on jobs and national security. Top executives coming in at 9 a.m. to talk manufacturing in America. Okay. That's a reasonable presidential tweet, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I'm not sure if it's him doing the tweeting from the POTUS account or not, but they do seem to
No, this is real Donald Trump.
Well, no, actually, I know, but they're mirroring most of what he's tweeting now over to his POTUS account because he now has a POTUS account. He's actually assumed control of the POTUS account. Barack Obama now has an account that says, I believe, POTUS 44. And yes. Donald Trump has actually assumed the original POTUS account that was once occupied by Barack Obama. And most of what he's tweeting now is actually being mirrored between the two accounts. So most of what you're seeing on one is actually mirrored on the other. And they do seem to, at least for the moment, be somewhat reined in. Now, I have to admit, some of what I've heard in the news lately about the things that Donald Trump has done with his first official day, because, I mean, nobody really counted Friday, even though he did hit the ground running. Actually, Friday, he signed an executive order making sure that Obamacare had a limited impact on the economy while Congress reviewed what they were going to do to both repeal and replace it. As much as I am not a fan of executive order, I think that one was actually a good one. Because, let's face it, Obamacare has had 1,000,001 unintended side effects. And I'm glad that he's hitting the ground running.
Friday. That wasn't the only thing he signed on Friday. He also signed the thing that allowed Mattis to be sworn in.
Oh, yes, I know. I was going to get to that one next. And thanks to that, we now have General Mad Dog Mattis, which I'm sure for everybody that thought that Trump and Putin were going to be really, really good buddies, Mattis in his position now sent a really clear signal to Putin. So I'm sure he's not as happy as he was on Inauguration Day by Inauguration Night.
I will say this. If there is someone who is well suited to this position in this time and with all the threats against this country, it is Mad Dog Mattis. And for those of you listening, I went over his credentials and his military background on my show earlier tonight. So if you want all the whole scoop on Mattis and how he came up to the ranks and what he led and what his military accomplishments were, check out my show, Jessie's POV. So,
all right. And just so we don't throw anybody off, I know you guys are used to listening to me taking all of these scheduled breaks for stuff that we usually run on CRN. However, since we do have a guest this evening, we're actually going to preempt a lot of our breaks. We will have a break at the bottom of the hour as a standard break, and for the rest of the time, we will be commercial free, and we're going to do that in honor of one of our sponsors, and that is actually one we haven't mentioned in a while, and that is actually, let me think of him, because like I said, I haven't mentioned him in a while. Concealandcarry.net. The word conceal, the letter N, the word carry.net. You can find them right there by putting that name in your search browser. You will find a map of the 50 states, and on there you can click on the area that you live in. You can find places to do firearm training, places to buy firearm accessories, and I do think one of our other sponsors, Rebel Road Tactical, is actually working on getting themselves listed on that particular site. But it's been a while since Slick and I have talked, so I don't know if he ever finished that. But because of those folks, we will actually not be playing the majority of the commercials this evening, so you're actually going to get a bit of an extended show and not have quite so many ads. Now, before I forget, because I've been tasked to make a couple of announcements this evening, we have our first official newsletter coming out. Miss Jess, do you know when Ann plans on sending that out?
She wouldn't let that cat out of the bag. She said to expect it before Thursday. That's all she would tell me.
Okay, yeah, well, she hasn't said anything more to me either, but she likes you a little more than me, so I thought maybe she might have told you more. So anyway, we're expecting to have our first official newsletter out sometime Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. We also have a giveaway that will be part of that first newsletter, and you can find information out about that in the newsletter. Miss Ann is actually giving away one of her very own custom-made mugs. She actually had some artwork done up a while ago, and as one of the things that she commissioned were a few mugs, and one of those she's actually going to be giving away as part of the launch of the newsletter, and that is something that you cannot get anywhere else, so I do encourage you to look into that. So make sure, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember, she told me there was a sign-up, but where exactly is that going to be? Is that going to be in the newsletter itself, or is that somewhere on the website?
She told me she was just going to have them use the contact form that already exists on the website, since she checks those emails anyway.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if you want information on our newsletter, you want to sign up, just make sure you use the contact form that's already on the website. We'll get you added to the list. Make sure you get that first one.
There's
and then
also a subscribe button as if it was for a blog on the website. And if you don't see it, clear your cookies, because it was just added not long ago, but it is there. And basically we're using the blog function of our website, from what I've been told, as our newsletter, so we don't have to set up a whole separate...
okay. So it's actually... See, I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be something that would wind up being generated out to folks, or if it was just going to be part of the website itself, or both. So that was a question I didn't even know. So, at least now we know.
I get a little bit more information out of her, but you know her, she keeps secrets close to the vest.
Yeah, well, what else can I say? All right, so be on the lookout for the newsletter that should be coming out at some point this Thursday, or sometime before or around this coming Thursday. And of course, you should see it added to our website as kind of a blog feature. But make sure you check that out. We plan on starting to put semi-regular entries in there, and you'll actually even see a little short couple of sentences from me. I didn't have much time to write much for this one, so hopefully I'll be able to put some more on the next one. Trying to do all of this and battle the flu at the same time has not been fun. All right, so anyway, enough talking about shop and all the other stuff. So back to the actual show. What do you say?
Sounds good to me, Rick.
All right, so you now, if I remember right, you said that you had prepared some audio. What were some of the audio clips that you had, so I can figure out which way we want to go next?
Okay. I listened to both I listened, of course, to the inauguration speech. I, of course, listened to the Trump CIA speech that everyone knew about. But then I found something else, another little nugget tucked away on the White House YouTube channel, where Trump spoke at the swearing in of the senior staff. And I thought this was the speech, or some of these words should have been said more at the CIA speech.
All right, so what were some of the things that were involved in that?
I'll play the first audio clip.
I also want to thank the families here today for all you have done to support your loved ones as they've devoted their time and energy to causes of public service, including many long nights. They'll be away, long nights. And that will go on for a long time, but we're going to come out way ahead. We're going to come out way ahead as a nation, as a country. We're going to come out way ahead because I know what we have. I know how talented these people are. We're also a team. It's a team. It's a great team. It's a team that gets along. And as I said during my inaugural address, this is not about party. This is not about ideology. This is about country, our country. And it's about serving the American people.
I thought that should have been more the tone that he used at the CIA rather than focusing on himself and how he felt that the media had been just trashing him.
You know, I have to admit, I've heard a few things that he said recently since he's been sworn in, and I think in a lot of ways he's starting to do what he said he was going to do. He's actually starting to sound a little more presidential. Now, I will admit that a lot of his inaugural speech had nationalistic overtones, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he realizes that he tapped into some anger that we didn't know was here. And honestly, I have to admit, even I didn't even realize how angry I was or how ignored I felt until, and again, I was working all the way through the inauguration, so I only got to hear bits and pieces. But there was one line that I heard that has resonated with me ever since, and it was that everyday Americans have felt ignored. No one is ignoring you anymore. You will never be ignored again. And I'm paraphrasing, but that line in and of itself, even though I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, has stuck with me ever since Friday, because I didn't realize, even as somebody who does what I do on a daily basis, and I write articles when I can, and I put together political talk shows, and we go cover events, and we do all of the things that we do, I didn't realize how much even I felt like nobody was really listening as far as the politicians. And I think that's one thing that has caused Trump to resonate so much with everybody, is because he told them that he was listening to them. And I think in a lot of ways he's proved it, because so far, granted, he's only been sworn in for 3 days now, but so far he's done what he said he was going to do. He's already put a moratorium on Obamacare. He's already put a hiring freeze in so they can start looking at ways to trim the government back a little bit. He's already started talking about military pay raises. So, I mean, which is something that never would have happened under Obama. I mean, so if he keeps doing the things that he's been doing over the last couple of days, I think things are finally going to start going in the right direction. So I have to say, even as much as I was not a fan because of his behavior in the primary and even all the way through the general, I have to say, for right now at this moment, I actually have a little bit of hope. I hope it's not misplaced, but I do have a bit of hope.
Well, speaking of those military pay raises, in a unique way, they're sort of already in effect, believe it or not. And I covered this on one of my shows. There was a MILPER, and that's a military personnel guide, put out on January 13th. It took effect on January 20th. And it was a change in the reenlistment bonus scale. But the most interesting one was any United States service member with an ETS, which means end of service date, in 2017, who extends, not reenlists, but extends for 1 year, is eligible for a $10,000 bonus. And some jobs in the military have a $13,000 rider attached, so it would be a total of $23,000 bonuses.
Very nice. Actually, I was not aware that had already occurred.
Yes, it took effect on January 20th. Now, for those of you listening who might be military, they can change it anytime after February 20th. So if you are listening to this, get to your retention people and talk to them. They have all the details. It's a 13-page document where I'm not going over it here.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's trying to, I think it's his way of trying to stop the bleeding from the military. And I was just like, I saw this and I was like, wait a minute. This can't, and I even addressed this issue on my show, this can't be a coincidence. This particular memorandum coming out being effective on the 20th of January, and also that being inauguration day, I'm sitting here going, 1 and 1 is adding up to a 2 equaling Trump. And I'm going, uh-huh.
Well, I mean, he said his team was going to hit the ground running, so it wouldn't surprise me if they'd already had this in the works and was just waiting until they could actually make it official. And, of course, they would have had to have made sure that it couldn't actually take effect until the day that he was sworn in. But, I mean, he has literally hit the ground running. I mean, I don't talk about my family much, but one of my sister-in-laws is actually fairly liberal. And even she had mentioned the other day that no matter how mad all of these people get that are suddenly upset about Trump, she can't deny the fact that for the first time ever in her lifetime that she can remember, I mean, she's, well, not necessarily in her lifetime, but in her adult lifetime that she can remember, and she's only in her 30s, they're actually talking about building factories in Detroit, which they haven't talked about in a very long time. And that is because in a lot of ways, the folks that run those businesses are listening to some of the ideas that Trump has about spurring the economy, and instead of investing all of their money in other countries, because they are still investing in other countries, but they are seriously talking about bringing a portion of those monies back home. So we're talking about before he even took office, he had already started spurring the economy along. Now, I'm curious to see what he can do now that he's actually at the reins. But like I said, just from the little bit that I've seen over the last few hours that I've been able to catch up with, I'm actually impressed with what he's done already. I mean, he's barely officially been in office on a working capacity for a day, and he's already done a ton of stuff.
He worked over the weekend.
Well,
Let's just get it out there right now.
Well, yeah,
May not have been an official work day. He worked. He seems to be the type that works weekends, Rick.
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually already have heard from people that actually know him that he tends to work about like I do. Usually starts about 5 in the morning, doesn't stop until about 1 o'clock the next morning. And he just keeps going until it's done. So far from what I've seen, I think that is exactly what he's been doing. I'm not sure if he'll keep up the type of pace that he is right now. But let's face it, with the type of talk that he had about his 100-day plan, he's not going to have a choice, at least for the first few months. He's going to have to burn the candle at both ends to get everything done that he said he was going to accomplish in his first 100 days. But so far, he's off to a really good start.
Well, back to that hiring freeze. I've actually got the actual memorandum in my hand and I got it off whitehouse.gov. So I'm the type of person, Rick, as you well know, I don't take secondary sources if I can avoid it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read the whole memorandum, okay? But there's a couple lines I really wanted to point out. As you said, this order does not include or apply to military personnel. It also says that the head of any executive department or agency may exempt from the hiring freeze any position that it deems necessary to meet national security or public safety responsibilities. Now, the other thing that hasn't been publicized about this memo, at least not as much as I'd have liked to have seen it, is he directed OPM, the Office of Management and Budget, to come up within 90 days to come up with a long-term plan to reduce the size of the federal government's workforce, mostly through attrition.
Huh.
And the other interesting thing, this order shall expire upon implementation of the Office of Management and Budget Plan. So he put an expiration in there.
Very, very nice.
Like I said, 1, he put an expiration date in there. 2, he's also talking to the people that run the Federal Employment Group, basically the HR department for the entire federal government, saying, you guys, figure this out, how we can cut this nonsense down. And then it also does go on to say that he wants people to seek efficient use of existing personnel and funds to improve public service. So, in the last paragraph does state it doesn't limit the nomination or appointment of officials to positions requiring presidential appointment or Senate confirmation. So, it's not like he's not going to have the rest of his cabinet or anything like that.
I'm sorry, what was that last little bit? You kind of broke up a little bit on my end.
No problem. It says the memorandum does not limit the nomination and appointment of officials to positions requiring presidential appointment or Senate confirmation. So, in other words, the rest of his cabinet is still going to get in.
Well, I mean, the rest of his cabinet was pretty much going to get in anyway. There's not too much the left can do to stop it, thanks to when they had their reigns, they decided to do away with the nuclear option, or use the nuclear option, however you want to look at it, but they've made it almost impossible to block anything.
Right. However, what I was getting at was the hiring freeze doesn't apply to people that have to go through the confirmation process.
Ah, okay. I understand what you meant now. Sorry. Okay.
That's okay. But it was just one of those things. Those were the interesting parts of the memo I felt didn't get enough coverage. By the way, there's one additional thing that when I was watching today's press briefing from the White House, they announced that really caught my attention, Rick. You know how, normally you have to be in D.C. to be able to actually be in a press conference?
I'm sorry, what about D.C.?
Normally you have to be in D.C. to be part of a White House press conference, right?
Yeah, normally.
They're going to open up 4 to 6 Skype-in slots for every conference.
Hey, we need one of those slots.
Already working on it, Rick. Already working on it.
That would be awesome. I've had the flu, so I'm just now starting to get up to speed. I had no idea that he was working on basically telecommuting to press conferences. That would be awesome.
And the reason his press secretary gave was to open it to other organizations that aren't based in and around D.C. or don't have the funding to travel to D.C., etc. So they are trying to reach out to in my opinion, with this, they are trying to reach out to the smaller media organizations, just like KLRN Radio.
I don't know if they're actually looking at folks that are mid-sized like we are, but I think they are looking at some of the bigger bloggers who don't necessarily have the budget to get out to D.C. But it would be nice to at least make an attempt until he figures out that one of the people that actually helps run the place didn't vote for him, and you didn't either. And then they're going to be like, yeah, no, never mind. You're fired. Just kidding. Sorry.
I thought that was a really interesting thing that happened today as well, that you didn't see any media coverage on. I didn't hear a peep of it outside of that press conference, Rick.
Well, that's because they don't want to talk about the fact that this administration is about to start making the actual folks that feel like they're the dynasty of media start working for a living and earning their spots. But I didn't realize that we had already carried through to the point where we are officially through the first half of the show. So we're going to have to take a really quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Trump inauguration, the changes at the White House, one of which I actually wanted to touch on and we'll get to when we get back. The Trump White House has put Black Lives Matter on notice. We'll talk about that when we get back.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Having a place to go after school will make you a better student. Having an outlet to express yourself will make you a better artist. Having something to do together will make you a better family. At the Y, we're helping build better friends, listeners, writers, swimmers, scientists, and musicians, one chance at a time. Give the gift of opportunity. Support the Y at ymca.net. The Y, for a better us.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is America Off the Rails. Believe it or not, we're already well into the last half of the show. Now, as promised, before we went to commercial, just in case you've been living under a rock, there was a rather marked change to the White House website as soon as Donald Trump was sworn in, which leads me to believe again that his group kind of hit the ground running because we had the military incentives kick in and the White House website immediately changed, and Donald Trump actually seemed to have put the Black Lives Matter folks on notice and said that his administration would be a law and order administration and that this open and unabashed hatred of police officers would be coming to an end for as long as he was president, which I again have to agree with. The only thing that I have taken the Trump administration to task on before he was sworn in was when he had talked about mandating a federal death penalty for cop killers. While it sounds great on paper and gives lots of folks a nice warm fuzzy feeling to think about the fact that our federal government's going to be putting people to death that kill cops, it's a blatant violation of the 10th Amendment. So I do seriously and sincerely hope that he actually rethinks that, since I haven't heard him say much about it since he's been sworn in. But the tone change on the White House website was most appreciated as someone who has actually been a supporter and been involved in law enforcement. So, just saying.
I do have one criticism of the new website. They don't have the Spanish version up yet.
Yeah. Learn English. I'm just playing. I don't know why they don't have the Spanish version up yet.
I know. And they did address it in the press conference and say they are working on it. However, I think at least the parts that are already existing should have been up. Since they had the time to get the original one built, they had time to get it translated as well.
I don't know. Nobody's going to like my response to that, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to come to this country, you should learn to speak the language. Just saying.
I visit foreign government websites all the time, Rick.
I don't care. All I'm saying is if you're going to come to this country, you should learn to speak the language.
I agree. All right. So you were mentioning his executive order on minimizing the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's commonly called. And I actually have that printed in front of me. So I'm going to point out a couple things that I thought weren't well covered. So obviously, policy of his administration to prompt the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. In the meantime, pending such repeal, it is imperative for the executive branch to ensure that the law is being efficiently implemented and take all actions consistent with the law to minimize unwarranted economic and regulatory burdens. Now, I heard that for a small to medium-sized business to keep up with the federal government paperwork as a whole costs them about $20,000 to $30,000 a year.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So now also in another section it says, to the maximum extent permitted by law, the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the heads of all other executive departments and agencies shall exercise all authority and discretion available to them to waive, defer, grant exemptions from, or delay the implementation of any provision requiring or requirement of the Affordable Care Act that would impose financial burden on any state, or cost, fee, tax, penalty, or regulatory burden on individuals, families, healthcare providers, etc., 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 etc. But I thought that was interesting. So I'm wondering if when you file your 2017 taxes, if they're going to make you prove you had insurance and pay the penalty.
Actually, with that order, he just killed the mandate. Because there is no longer going to be a penalty. That is specifically what that was referring to at this point. Now, I don't think it will take effect for this year, obviously, because there's no way to make it. I don't think they did anything to make it retroactive. But that means from this point going forward, regardless of whether Obamacare gets repealed or replaced or not, the mandate's officially dead, which I think is a brilliant idea. Because here's the thing, and this is one of the things that we've been talking about now for years. The left continues to tout the number of people that have signed up for this supposed miracle legislation, but you can't count the numbers because you're basically putting a gun to their head and telling them they don't have a choice. Because you're mandating it. You're making it a law that they have to buy the product. That has never in this country happened before. Other than car insurance. And the one thing that they did to basically make that a thing was They made it possible for you to get the insurance between state lines, and they made it competitive, and they've made it to the point where it's getting more and more affordable because they made it a mandate. And part of the reason they thought they could get away with the Affordable Care Act was the fact that they have now made it a law that you have to have insurance to be able to operate a motor vehicle. The thing about that is, operating a motor vehicle is a choice. It's a privilege. It's not a right. Healthcare, you don't have a choice. If you're going to mandate that, you're stuck regardless. I mean, I've talked about this before. Up until this year, I've had 2 forms of insurance because my wife works for a union job and I work at a job that affords me health insurance as well. So for the last several years, I haven't had to pay a copay. I can go get whatever procedures I need to get done, and normally I don't have to put anything out of pocket unless there's something the insurance company won't cover after the fact, and that gives me time to deal with it. I don't have that luxury anymore, and that's predominantly thanks to Obamacare and the extra added burden of cost that it's put on our companies. So the fact that that in one fell swoop, he's made it to where companies are no longer going to be overburdened by Obamacare, and he's done stuff to lessen the financial impact to them, as well as lessening the financial impact to the American citizen, I think is a really, really good thing. Now, I don't like the fact that everybody keeps using language repeal and replace. I think we just need to repeal it. We didn't have as big of a problem as everybody likes to make this into. We had a portion of our population that could not afford health insurance. There were ways to fix this without burdening the rest of the country with it. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about all along, because everybody keeps talking about, well, what was the right solution? What was the right solution? How about you tailor something specifically to fit the needs of the people that cannot afford insurance any other way, and make it something that is easy for them to use and affordable for them to use so they have access to it, instead of making everybody pay for it and making it to the point where it's something that doesn't even do what you said it was going to do. Obamacare was the biggest sham that was portrayed that was put onto the American people ever, because it didn't do a damn thing that it said it was going to do, and now we're being looked at like crazy people because we want to get rid of it. All because of the couple of good things that it did that we could have done without the rest of the monstrosity of legislation that we have before us right now.
I have heard rumors that the Replacement Act will be something along the lines of a catastrophic coverage plan. Now, those are rumors and scuttlebutt and things like that. But a catastrophic coverage plan, going back to those, that would kick in if you suddenly came down with cancer, you broke your arm, you did something something extraordinary. It wouldn't be, I remember when I had a catastrophic plan coming out of my paycheck, it was $10 a week.
Yeah, it's absolutely there if something very, very bad happens and you need to have it. And I'm not necessarily opposed to finding ways to make insurance more affordable, but there are smart ways to do that. We could do that the same way that we've made car insurance more affordable. We can stop making it illegal to get health insurance across state lines. We can stop making it illegal for health insurance to work across state lines. Because that's another thing that nobody really takes into account. If let's say, for the sake of argument, that there is a family that is now separated and the husband has health insurance on his children, but he lives in California and they live in Oklahoma, there's a good chance that whatever insurance he's trying to provide is not going to work for them. So he's paying for something that's worthless because of these stupid rules and laws that make it impossible for insurance to be used between states. That's one of the first things that we need to do, is foster competition. That's what Obamacare stopped, was competition, because they made it a mandate for everybody to sign up for it, and then there were only a handful of insurance companies that were even interested in becoming a part of it. Now there's even less, so there's no competition involved. You don't have a choice. It's illegal for you not to do it, or it was, and you get one, maybe two providers if you're lucky. Sometimes you can't even find that if you happen to live in a state that decided to opt out of Obamacare.
Right. And in a lot of cases, the premiums have gone up as much as 100% in some locations. And it's just, and you've got health insurance you can't use because it's got a $6,000 or $7,000 deductible. Now, I will say the one group in this country that I know provides insurance across state lines for separated families, and they're experts at it, although dealing with them can be a monstrosity, a ginormous headache, would be TRICARE, the military coverage, because they're experts at divided and separated families. And I would love to see, just on that aspect, not the trouble dealing with them, but just on that aspect of the portability of it, I'd like to see that implemented with all insurance companies.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the things that we could do that could help lower the cost of health insurance and make it easier for people to get it. We could institute the same type of plans that TRICARE uses for all insurance companies so that there's portability across state lines. We could also get it to the point where if you have a certain insurance plan that's provided through your employer, there's nothing that stops you from being able to keep that same insurance plan if you're willing to start assuming the cost of it if you leave that particular employer. There are ways to make this stuff work, and there are ways to make it make sense. Obamacare was not the way to do it. Obamacare was nothing that it was presented as. Obamacare was, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the framework to get us to a single-payer system. Because whether you like it or not, no matter what Barack Obama said in public, he told people in private that he was a fan of a single-payer system, and he thought that's what America needed. And that's why Obamacare has done the exact opposite of what he said it was going to do. It was designed to cripple the insurance industry to the point where the government had to step in and take it over and make it a single-payer system so it could be government to the rescue. Now, look, I don't care where you're from. I don't care whether you think single-payer is a good idea or not. If you do, that's fine. That's great. Go to Great Britain. Go to Canada. There are plenty of places that you can get a single-payer system. I, as an American citizen, do not want the government having any more control over my life than they already do. And truth be told, they already have more control than I like. The last thing I want them to be able to do is to take full control of my healthcare coverages, because then ultimately they're going to be the ones that are deciding what type of procedures I can have and what type of procedures that I can't have. And that will lead us to the same situation that is currently going on in places like Great Britain and Canada. You know, the people that are waiting in long lines for kidneys and knee replacements and everything else, and they used to come here to get those things done when they couldn't get them done in their own country. But now, because we've trashed our healthcare system, they're not coming here anymore. So how much money is that costing our economy because we decided to trash our healthcare system? So that is the one thing that I hope Donald Trump does. I understand that now that something like Obamacare has been created, we will likely never get fully away from it. But what I hope we do is find a way to make it work, find a way to repeal it, replace it with stuff that actually fixes the problem and does what Obama said that Obamacare was supposed to do. Remember, it was supposed to be saving people money. It's done nothing but cost everybody money all the way across the board, and it's done nothing but kill job growth because everybody's cutting hours to avoid paying for Obamacare.
I agree, Rick. I mean, I'm sorry, but I've seen way too many small businesses stop offering healthcare of any kind. I've seen, just like your situation, where your wife's employer no longer offers family coverage. I've seen way too many instances of that. So what is a single working mother whose healthcare is provided by her employer supposed to do about covering her children? You mean she's got to go out and find insurance on her own for her kids now? That's just plain wrong.
Well, we did happen to get lucky in that instance. In my wife's case, they only killed the spouse coverage. So the children still get to stay on our insurance, at least for now.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, because otherwise I'd be paying like $500 a month for insurance for my kids, so... Because my family plan insurance is not cheap. Hers is, or was. That's honestly one of the only reasons that she's stayed where she's been for as long as she has been, because the pay scale's not that great, but the benefits were awesome. I mean, she could get all of us insured for about $44 a month, and now that's gone.
Oh, that's dirt cheap.
Yeah. That's why they were all freaking out when they realized that it was gone. And it's gone primarily thanks to Obamacare because it's gotten too expensive to keep insurances. My wife's company, in the nearly 20 years that she's been there, had never changed insurance providers until 2 years ago. And since they've changed insurance providers, guess why? Because the company was looking for more economic coverages thanks to Obamacare, because everything has gotten 10 times more expensive. They've now had changes to their insurance plans now 2 years running, and the company has now basically come clean and said, look, due to this and due to other reasons beyond our control, we're having to cut our healthcare cost exponentially, and one of the ways we've done that is we are going to remove the spousal coverages because there are only a handful of people that are using it anyway, and it's very expensive for us to keep it up, thanks to the changes with the medical coverages. Now, my hope is, since I hope the Republicans will finally do something to make Obamacare into something that actually works, maybe in a year or so things will start getting back to normal, but I guess only time will tell.
True. Only time will tell. So, did you happen to catch or listen to any of Trump's CIA speech?
Actually, no, I did not actually. I meant to, but I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to it yet. I'm assuming, by the way you phrased the question, that you have some audio.
Yes, I actually have 2 clips. One is really short, and it was his CIA director, who's now been confirmed, Mike Pompeo. I don't believe he's been sworn in yet because he was confirmed after I went on the air tonight. So he was confirmed after 9 o'clock Eastern time. So I assume he'll be sworn in the morning. Here was my favorite clip of him introducing Trump, and it's very, very brief.
And I know he's going to make America safe again.
Kind of a takeoff on Make America Great Again. He's going to make America safe again. Now, here's a brief clip of Trump speaking at the CIA. And I've got to say, he was standing in front of the CIA wall. Are you familiar with that? What that is? The CIA Memorial Wall. Are you familiar with that, Rick?
Yes, I am. The CIA Memorial Wall is where the clandestine agents that have been killed on the line of duty have a star placed because, of course, nobody can know who they are.
Exactly. And that, is, to me, is, for lack of a term, hallowed ground. You are, because what many people don't realize is sometimes those bodies are not recovered. Our military will bring home the body, God forbid, if someone's killed in action. The CIA doesn't always have that luxury. Sometimes we get one back, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they can never acknowledge who they were. But when he was standing in front of that wall, he made way too many references to I and me and media. I'm sorry, his teamwork speech that he gave to his senior staff would have been a much more appropriate tone. And I actually have 2 audio clips I want to play just for comparison and contrast. One of them is him addressing his senior staff, and the other one is from the CIA. I'm going to start with the CIA clip.
Well, I want to thank everybody, very, very special people. And it is true. This is my first stop, officially. We're not talking about the balls, and we're not talking about even the speeches, although they did treat me nicely on that speech yesterday. I always call them the dishonest media, but they treated me nicely. But I want to say that there is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump.
Okay, first of all, he referred to himself in the third person. Secondly, it was I, me. I mean, I'm sorry. That just seemed like the wrong tone to me. What do you think, Rick?
I don't know. He lost me when he went all Bob Dole.
All right, here was a second audio clip from his speech to his senior staff.
We're not here to help ourselves. We're here to devote ourselves to the national good. Public service is a high and great calling. It's our solemn duty together to protect the country, our country, this great, great country, to defend its workers and promote the well-being of all Americans.
I think that would have been a much better tone to take at the CIA, especially standing in front of that wall.
Yeah, I have to agree.
I mean, I'm sorry. He saved the teamwork speech for his senior staff and rambled on about himself in front of that CIA memorial wall.
No, I agree. He should have definitely made it less about himself, actually, in both speeches. But believe it or not, we are officially out of time. So at this point, why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV, and I am live Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern on my show, Jessie's POV.
All right, folks, and I, of course, am Rick Robinson. I'll be back with you live tomorrow night for a double shot right here on KLRNradio.com. We have first Jen and Rick at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then yours truly at 11 p.m. Eastern. And on that note, folks, we have got to make our way out of here. We've got the Rhino Report coming up right here next on KLRNradio.com. Don't go away, and I'll be back with you before you know it. Take care, and God bless.